Africa, Africa, yeah. Africa, so Africa, Malagua Paraja ya Bisenge Sogona, Bakawaye, Iwana Malindina, Lakini Mukambu, Seneka, Sena, Yamute, Kelumukle, Africa, 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 let me get my Africa. Johannesburg, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Yamute, Africa, 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 I don't see you guys dancing. Do you know the song? It talks about us. Africa. Can you all stand up and dance with us? Stand up. Dance with us. Africa, 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 Africa. Africa, 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 Yebo. Yebo, yes. I can feel the vibe that side. I can feel the vibe that side. Oh man, thank you so much that you enjoy. Take it down, guys. Now, so, San Banana again. I love the way you dance. This song reminds me, my beautiful friend, my friend of us. I know we can special. I know we can special. I know we can special. Can I hear you sing? We can special. I know we can special. I know we can special. We can special. I know we can special. I know we can. We can Don't go anywhere. This is too nice. Next song. Don't go anywhere. This is too nice. Sing my beautiful and my brothers dancing together. We are one. I want to see that you know how to do a Zulu dance. What? Are you still okay? Woo! Woo! 1 kilo down. special star that shines each time it hits the lullaby. There's a special star that shines every evening in your eyes. Hey! Special star. 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 It's happening right here. It's happening down here. Special star. Special star. Special star. Is it marriage? Is it marriage? Special star. Special star. We love South Africa. Special star. I'll get a wife. I'll find a wife for you. You love South Africa. I'll get a wife for you. Today. You want a wife today? Who is not married here? There's a husband here. There's a husband here. Raise your hand. I want to see who's not married here. Second Kulumene Bafwet. That's a dog. Chubby nine dog. Chubby nine dog. Oh, yes. She's not married. You. I want you. You want me? I'm taken. Sorry, man. Let me just give you a hug. I'm taken. There's my husband there. I'll get a wife for you. There's another one on stage. That one. That's to be you. Oh, you want me? Okay, in South Africa, they say you can take another wife or another husband.
Right, I now declare you husband and wife. Yay!
Special star! 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 What's that? Yes! What's that? Thank you so much, guys. We love you. We love you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey. Okay. There's a request here. They said they want me back. So I'm coming. Let me remind you where I come from. Hallowed be thy name, our Father. We touch in give us this day our daily bread. Thy will be done as it is done in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Our Father, hallowed be thy name. Oh Lord, our Father, you still remember Serafina? Hallowed be I can see the youth has been dancing. You know Serafina. You know freedom is coming tomorrow. Get ready, mama, prepare for your freedom.
Freedom is coming tomorrow.
Get ready, mama, prepare for your freedom. Freedom is coming tomorrow. Get ready, mama, prepare for your freedom. Freedom is coming tomorrow. Hey! Woo!
One, two, three.
Someone special request this song. Another lonely night, all I own I get it. Oh, I long for your love. I need your touch, yes I do. Around to see me in a week. You don't have a chance to put me on the phone, yeah. I'm no weak, I'm no weak for sure. I'm no weak for sure. The
Ladies and gentlemen, if I have your attention, may we start to settle down. The president and his delegation are arriving. May we start to settle down. May we have everybody taking their seats, and the crowd that's outside the entrance, may we have it cleared. The ones who were chanting slogans can continue chanting as long as we do it from our seats. I'm just a terrible singer. I can't lead one. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, may we rise for the president. Dia, 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 we molo. Thank you. If I can have members of the media clearing so that we can all rise and invite Snemyango to lead us with the national anthem and also the AU anthem. May we have the people congregating around the president to go back to their seats to allow us to commence with our program. Can we all stand at attention? We request the gentlemen to take off their hats for the singing of the national anthem of South Africa and also the AU anthem. May we all be at attention. Snare, over to you.
Yesu
The AU anthem.
Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa a tree of life. Let us all unite and sing together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for lasting peace and justice on earth. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and join together to give the best we have to Africa, the cradle of mankind and fort of culture, our pride and hope and break of dawn. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Thank you to Snem Yango, our soloist. My co-convener, who's also former Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, please join me to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, our President, Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Also acknowledge the presence of Her Excellency, Madame Nados Bekele Thomas, the CEO of Odenop Nepad. Also acknowledge the presence of my sister, Honorable Madame Ake Everesto, the Minister of Human Rights of the Federated Republic of Brazil. My colleagues, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers on the South African National Executive Committee. Premiers of our provinces, I've seen Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Premier Tamin Tuli, Honorable. Honorable members of Parliament, MECs, MPLs from Gauteng and other provinces. All councillors and mayors led by the Executive Mayor of our host city, Ekurhuleni, Alderman Dr. Kakaza. Khoi and San leaders and traditional leaders. Amase. Members of the diplomatic corps, representatives and conveners of the engagement groups, distinguished guests and senior government officials. Good afternoon. My name is Khumbuzo Nchabeni, the co-convener of the G20 Social and Minister in the Presidency in the Republic of South Africa. For sign language interpretation, I'm joined by Fortunate Madlala, Nicoline Detroit, and Andy Swakebashe. Your Excellencies, gathered here at this social summit in the last 2 days are representatives of 22 engagement groups, which include Women 20, Labor 20, Civil Society 20, Business 20, Think Tank 20, Youth 20, G20 Empowerment Alliance, Startup 20, Science 20, Urban 20, Children 20, Creatives 20, Disability 20, Values 20, Climate 20, Foundations 20, Interfaith 20, Queer 20, Judiciary 20, Parliament 20, Supreme Audit Institutions 20, and royals, as well as public participants representing grassroots structures from our districts and provinces. I'll acknowledge the other 20s as we run along with the program. To prepare for this social summit and build consensus on the G20 social legacy projects and the declaration, the engagement groups held a total of over 100 preparatory meetings over a period of 12 months. Let's clap hands for ourselves. The deliberations at the preparatory meetings sought to build consensus around 5 thematic areas, which are digital inclusion and equitable transformation, 2, trade resilience and inclusive value chains, 3, inclusive climate justice, a just transition and energy democracy, 4, a just and sustainable finance and international financial architecture, and 5, building momentum for the achievement of the SDGs and Agenda 2063. The engagement groups worked very hard to get to where we are and also to agree on a continuing partnership in the implementation of the legacy projects for the future of this beautiful country and continent. Your due pronouncement, Mr. President, that declared that South Africa's G20 presidency is an African presidency which the whole of the African continent must partake and benefit in, was fulfilled through this work of the engagement group, but as part of this G20 social. When we started South Africa's G20 presidency, Your Excellency, Mr. President, you also instructed us to be inclusive, and we have done exactly that as we accommodated additional engagement groups and the general public through the GCIS, which is the Government Communication and Information Systems, outreach activities, and all their inputs are included in the declaration. Therefore, Mr. President, allow me to invite representatives of the international civil society to speak to us, and I'm requesting the speakers that I have acknowledged all the distinguished guests on behalf of yourselves, and therefore request that, except for His Excellency the President, you stand on established protocols. And given that we have started an hour late, we have to keep to the allocated time. It's kicking off the representation of the international civil society. I'd like to call upon Mr. Stefano Palmri, the President of the European Economic Social Committee Section for External Relations. May we put our hands together for him.
Thanks, Mrs. Chairman. His Excellency, Mr. President Cyril Ramaphosa, Excellency Presidents and Minister and Deputy Minister, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me say it's a true honor to address you today on an historic G20 social summit, the first on African soil, under South African presidency. This moment symbolizes a long-awaited recognition that African voice must be heard in shaping global decision. And this voice today doesn't come from Washington, from Brussels, from Beijing, come from the heart of Africa. Thanks, Mr. President Ramaphosa, for making all this possible. As the Deputy President Mashatile said in the opening ceremony, things happening in South Africa. And now let them happen in the world. I'm a member of the European Economic and Social Committee, the House of European Social Civil Society, and it has been a privilege for me have been together with you all these days in this vibrant atmosphere to hear the voice of civil society and to understand that here the true Ubuntu Nabantu spirit is realized. And from tomorrow, each of us will have the task of fighting for the affirmation of the request of civil society here in this social summit. Starting from a real reform of the global governance, a reform that must start with the recognition of the role of civil society, ensuring that people, women, youth, workers, local indigenous community, people with disability are active shapers of the decision that after their life. It won't be easy. We must be very clear. The ongoing geopolitical change where global predatory players such as autocratic nation states propped up by huge digital and social media multinationals are emerging. We, the civil society in every part of the world, we cannot and must not fail to promote and support the main principle of this social summit, the real affirmation of solidarity, equality, and sustainability. But this affirmation of this principle is strictly linked to the availability in the world of the global public goods. And these are peace. Anywhere in the world, the wars must be stopped now with all possible diplomatic efforts. Health security, we saw during the recent pandemic crisis, not all individuals are the same when faced with health emergency. We have to fight for human rights that are currently disregarded when children are kidnapped in Ukraine or civilians are killed in Gaza or in Al-Fashir. And when people are discriminated against based on their sexual orientation, their ethnicity, their religion, or women are killed or objected to sexual violence. This has to be stopped now. And we have to fight for equality in the world. It's not possible that 1% of the world population hold just half of a global wealth. That in 2023, the income of the 6 main digital corporations was $243 billion. I ask you, is that right? We need to step for social and labor rights, for sustainable environment and biodiversity, but the affirmation of these global public goods need financial resources. And for this reason, we need to choose a tax on financial transactions that will support the poorest population. A digital tax target the profit of digital companies that use a tool to evade taxation through tax havens. A tax of the very wealthy of the world that hits the top 1% of the population that hold just under half of the global wealth. We need choice to invest in youth and workers, in the education and lifelong learning of people. We need to invest for wildlife sanctuary fundamental of our existence, like rainforest. And in this regard, I would like to wish to the Mr. President Lula every success for your proposal about Tropical Forest Forever facility. And we need to invest for a just, green, and digital transition for everyone that benefits everyone. We need to change the current framework of the global financial system. Many low-income countries are forced to spend more on the debt services than on education and health. In Europe, we must change our mentality and seeing Africa as well as Latin America as a continent with which to establish partnership relations between equals. Through our joint and fruitful cooperation with African Union ECOSOC, we sent a message on behalf of the EU and African civil society at the United Nations Summit for the Future. In our joint declaration, we call for a reinvigorated multilateral system, representative, transparent, and accountable for all and not for small number of countries. I conclude, we advocate for a transparent, efficient, United Nations and for restructuring global finance to align with climate goals, moving beyond GDP as the measure of the progress. We need to focus on the well-being of the citizen. The G20 must become a platform, not simply for state-to-state negotiation, but for people-to-people governance, where civil society has real access and influence. Multilateralism for the creation of a fair and just world is not dead, is walking the long path for the affirmation of solidarity, equality, and sustainability, animated and supported by civil society and citizens in Europe, in Africa, in Latin America, in every part of the world. And events like this show to the world their importance and our determination to achieve this goal. Mr. President Ramaphosa, we, the European civil society, are ready to undertake this long journey with you in the spirit of Ubuntu Nabantu. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Palmbury. Indeed, umuntu gimuntu gabantu, I am because you are. And it starts on establishing a partnership of equals between Africa, South America, and Europe. And I'm sure President Ramaphosa will take you up on your words. I now request the pleasure of Madam Amita Beha, the Executive Director of Oxfam International, to come and, my sincere apologies. I was told I'm expecting to invite a sister. But the name is correct. So the name was correct. I was just told, maybe you're too handsome. It's Mr. Amita Beha, the Executive Director of Oxfam.
Thank you, Honorable President Ramaphosa, ministers, excellencies, and my dear friends and comrades, brothers and sisters. It's an absolute delight, a privilege and honor to be here in the land of the biggest struggle that at least I have seen in my lifetime. So it's really an honor being here. I hope I represent Oxfam, which is a confederation working in 80 countries, but I really hope that I also bring the voices of the most marginalized and excluded people who live pretty much on the margins of society. And I also hope, as an individual, I bring my voice of a person who's grown up in central India. Allow me to just take you back to the end of Second World War. What we saw was obviously enormous pain, sorrow, horror, but from there, from the debris of the end of the war, we also saw a promise for a better future. It was also the time when we saw the end of colonial empires. And it was a massive future that we were looking at. For people like us, our Bible is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That was established. You had the UN with all its imperfections of those times, but there was a promise that we were looking at a peaceful, just future. But let me also say that we all here certainly know that that future, that promise was incomplete till 1994. It's pretty much when the apartheid ended that we thought that we could realize the dream of that better future. And I want to particularly highlight that in that dream were two specific things: the idea of justice and the idea of dignity for all, irrespective of the caste, creed, gender, geography that you came from. But I think as a civilizational project, to have that dream of ensuring justice and dignity for everyone is inspirational. I still get goosebumps when I think about it. Having talked of that promise, I'm really sorry to bring you back. Tragically, I feel that the dream has been shattered. It's a broken dream at the moment. If you see what's happening in Gaza, a genocide in Gaza, my solidarity with brothers and sisters there, and a huge, huge, huge thanks to the President and the South African government for what you've done in solidarity of Gaza. You've been the voice of justice for all of us. So if you see that this broken promise, but let me just tell you what is happening. Oxfam is bringing out a report today which tells us that in G20 countries, just in this 1 year, in the last 1 year, the billionaires have added $2 trillion to their kitty, enough to bring 3.6 billion people out of poverty. That's what it is. Just imagine the situation gets worse. We are sitting in Africa. There are 4 people, and all men, not surprising, who own more wealth than 50% of the African population. It's nothing better in Latin America and Caribbean. It's only 2 persons who own more than 50% of the entire Caribbean population. What we are seeing is it's the same economic system which is also responsible for the climate catastrophe. The top richest 1% actually do polluting emissions through their private jets, yachts, more than 2/3 of the global population. So that's the context we are in, and this inequality emergency is certainly driving us towards a crisis, undermining our democracies and our dream of a just future. But I just want to, with this context, I want to again applaud the South African government and the Brazilian government for bringing inequality to the center stage of these conversations. Really grateful for doing so. Let's be clear. Fighting inequality is a political choice. And President, you have made that choice. Thank you for making that choice. You're making this historic choice. You created the Stiglitz Committee. Our very strong request would be that we must continue with the recommendations of the committee, where we should have an international panel on inequality. I hope the coalition of willing different governments can come together to take this forward. Similarly, huge thanks to the government of Brazil last year for putting taxing the super rich at the center of the conversation. It is really taxing the super rich which can give us the resources to ensure that it's not the billionaires who get rich and richer. There are more doctors, there are more teachers, there are more nurses, and there's more daycare for the communities. So thank you again, Brazilian government. I would just end by saying that this is a moment while we look up to the inspiration of the South African government, the Brazilian government, other governments who are going to take this progressive agenda forward, the civil society, the young, the women, the academics, we all need to redouble our effort in fighting injustice, in ensuring that we work towards a fair and equal future. Otherwise, what we are seeing, the Gen Z protests across, the anger narrative is spilling over to the streets. I really hope you are a beacon of hope at this moment. We can now together fight for a just world. Thank you.
Thank you indeed. We are indeed redoubling our efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, although we are continuing on the innovation of Brazil, who introduced the G20 social, South Africa expanded on the innovation to include an African flair, with the participation of traditional leaders and the Khoisan indigenous people. South Africa, I must say, South Africa also expanded the engagement groups from 14 in Brazil to 22 participating at this social summit. South Africa also took it another step further by introducing legacy projects that will ensure that the impact of the G20 Social South Africa on the African continent will last a lifetime. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite to make her remarks my big sister, Honorable Ms. Makia Evarasto, the Minister of Human Rights of the Federated Republic of Brazil, a member of the G20 Troika as the outgoing president of the G20. Madam Evarasto is a distinguished leader in social justice, racial equality, and inclusive public policy, with a career spanning decades in public administration, education, and community advocacy. She has been at the forefront of advancing the rights of women, children, and Afro-descendant communities and other historically marginalized groups. She will address in Portuguese, and because we are not offering simultaneous translation, the translation will be done immediately she completes to address. My dear sister.
Bom dia a todas e todos.
Good morning, everyone.
Sua Excelência, Presidente da República da África do Sul,
Your
Cyril
Excellency.
Ramaphosa,
Your Excellency, President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa,
demais chefes de Estado,
other heads of state,
ministros, vice-ministros e demais autoridades presentes.
ministers, deputy ministers, and distinguished authorities that are present.
É com muita honra e com profunda responsabilidade que hoje, 20 de novembro, Dia da Consciência Negra no Brasil, dia em que honramos Zumbi dos Palmares, símbolo da resistência à escravidão no meu país, que represento o presidente Lula nessa sessão de encerramento da cúpula do G20 social na presidência da África do Sul.
It's with a great honor and profound responsibility that today, 20th of November, Black Consciousness Day in Brazil, a day on which we honor Zumbi and dos Palmares and the symbol of resistance of slavery in my country, that I represent President Lula in this closing session of G20 Social Summit under the presidency of South Africa.
Sou uma mulher do povo, uma mulher preta, professora, assistente social, nascida no interior do país e hoje, no governo do presidente Lula, ministra de Estado dos Direitos Humanos e da Cidadania do Brasil.
I am a woman of people, Black woman, a teacher, a social worker, born in the countryside and today Minister of the State for the Human Rights of Citizenship of Brazil.
Este é um momento que nos convida a celebrar a democracia, a pluralidade e as diversidades que nos constituem. E, principalmente, um momento para reafirmarmos nossa convicção de que a participação social precisa ocupar o centro dos processos de tomada de decisão em espaços fundamentais da governança global, como o G20.
This moment invites us to celebrate democracy, plurality, and diversity that shape us, and above all, is the moment to reaffirm our convictions that social participation must be at the center of decision-making process, a key space of global governance, such as the G20.
Trazemos para o G20 o entendimento de que só alcançamos a plenitude como indivíduos na coletividade. Sou porque somos. Ubuntu foi uma inovação necessária da presidência brasileira. Um esforço intenso para garantir que as vozes e as lutas dos povos das 20 maiores economias do mundo estivessem presentes e fossem ouvidas diretamente.
Bringing to the G20 the understanding that we only reach our fullness as individuals through collectivity. I am because we are. Ubuntu was a necessary innovation to the Brazilian presidency. It was the intense effort to ensure that the voice of the struggles of the people of the 20 largest economies in the world were present and heard directly.
O presidente Lula, em 2024, disse que vivíamos um momento histórico ao fundar o pilar social ao lado dos pilares político e financeiro. E é com imensa alegria, presidente Ramaphosa, que vemos a presidência da África do Sul abraçar essa iniciativa inédita, dando continuidade e ampliando esse compromisso, que é, ao mesmo tempo, uma conquista e uma responsabilidade coletiva.
In 2024, President Lula said we were living an historic moment when we established a social pillar alongside the political and financial ones. And it is great joy that we see the South African presidency embrace this unprecedented initiative, continuing and expanding the commitment that is both achievement and shared responsibility.
Acreditamos e reafirmamos isso todos os dias, que a sociedade civil não pode ser apenas espectadora. Ela precisa participar de maneira ampla, diversa e qualificada das atividades e processos decisórios do G20. O desenvolvimento social, a inclusão, a equidade e as múltiplas formas de existir e viver precisam estar no centro da governança global, junto às discussões macroeconômicas, políticas e financeiras.
We believe and reaffirm this every day, that the civil society cannot be merely a spectator. It must participate broadly, diversely, and meaningful in the activities of decision-making process of the G20. Social development, inclusion, equity, and multiple ways of living and existing must be the center of the global governance, alongside macroeconomic, political, and financial deliberations.
O tema que a África do Sul escolheu para sua presidência, solidariedade, equidade e sustentabilidade, expressa com clareza esse compromisso. A história nos ensina, não basta ter conceitos que orientem políticas sociais e justiça socioambiental. É preciso reconhecer que são os movimentos de base, as pessoas organizadas em seus territórios, que transformam conceitos em realidade.
The theme that South Africa has chosen for this presidency, solidarity, equity, and sustainability, clearly express this commitment. History teaches us that it is not enough to have concepts to guide social policies and social environment justice. It is essential to recognize that the grassroots movements and people organized in their territories are the ones who turn concepts into reality.
Aqui na África do Sul, pude visitar o Freedom Park para conhecer de perto a longa história das lutas coletivas pela liberdade. E é aqui na África do Sul que nos reunimos no G20 Social para reafirmar que nossos passos vêm de longe. Essas experiências das lutas do passado reverberam no presente nas lutas das periferias, quilombos, aldeias indígenas e pavimentam os caminhos do futuro dos países do G20, sem fome, sem miséria, sem racismo, sem xenofobia, sem capacitismo, sem LGBTQIA+fobia, sem etarismo e outras formas de opressão.
Here in South Africa, I visited Freedom Park to learn the first hand about the long history of collective struggles of freedom. And it's here in South Africa that we gathered for the G20 Social to reaffirm that our steps come from far. This experience of past struggles resonates today in the struggles of peripheries, quilombos, indigenous village, and they pave the way for the future for G20 countries without hunger, without poverty, without racism, without xenophobia, without ableism, without LGBTA+ phobia, without ageism, without other forms of oppression.
A presidência da África do Sul estabeleceu 4 prioridades que expressam com clareza os desafios do nosso tempo. Fortalecer a resiliência e a resposta a desastres, garantir a sustentabilidade da dívida de países de baixa renda, mobilizar financiamento para uma transição energética justa e aproveitar minerais críticos para um crescimento inclusivo e sustentável.
The South African presidency has established 4 priorities that clearly reflect the challenge of our time: strengthening resilience and disasters response, ensuring debt sustainability for lower-income countries, mobilizing financially for the just energy transition, and leveraging critical minerals for inclusive and sustainable growth.
Não é possível falar de justiça social sem falar de justiça ambiental. Na semana passada, participei da COP30 em Belém, no Pará, no coração da Amazônia brasileira. Na conferência, o presidente Lula reafirmou, mais uma vez, que não podemos deixar ninguém para trás. Esse deve ser o princípio orientador dos processos de negociação. Isso significa afirmar que proteger o meio ambiente é, antes de tudo, defender os direitos de quem vive nos territórios, de quem conhece e respeita a terra, as águas e as florestas. É o que acreditamos, e por isso construímos a Aldeia COP e a Cúpula dos Povos, marcos históricos da presença dos povos indígenas e da sociedade civil nas conferências de clima.
It is possible to speak of social justice without speaking of environment justice. Last week, I participated in COP30 in Belém. It is the state of Pará at the heart of Brazil, Amazon. At the conference, President Lula once again reaffirmed that we cannot leave anyone behind. These must be the guide principles of negotiations process. This means affirming that protecting the environment is, above all, defending the right of those who live in the territories, those who know and respect the land, the water, the forest. This is what we believe, and this is why we created this village COP, Aldeia COP, and this Cúpula dos Povos, historic milestones in the presence of indigenous people and civil society at climate conferences.
Para o Brasil, a participação social não é um adendo, é um princípio orientador, um elemento que estrutura a gestão pública e que fortalece a democracia e a cidadania. É um instrumento pelo qual transformamos compromissos coletivos em políticas reais.
For Brazil, social participation is not an add-on. It is a guide principle, a struggling element element of a public governance that strengthens democracy and citizenship. It is the instrument through which we turn collective commitments into real policies.
Democratizar as instâncias de governança do nível local ao global é abrir caminhos para decisões mais legítimas, para acordos mais sólidos e para uma relação de confiança entre a sociedade e as instituições. A participação ainda promove o diálogo entre políticas essenciais para o desenvolvimento social.
Democratizing governance spaces for the local of the global level opens pathways for more legitimate decisions, strong agreements, and relationships of trust between society and institutions. Participation of all fosters dialogue among essential policies for social development.
Em 2025, no terceiro governo do presidente Lula, celebramos a saída do Brasil do mapa da fome da ONU pela segunda vez. Para isso, o Brasil apostou em políticas públicas intersetoriais, com transferência de renda, inclusão produtiva e garantia de acessos a serviços básicos. Enfrentar esse desafio é possível. Por isso, o governo do Brasil, na presidência do G20, lançou a Aliança Global contra a Fome e a Pobreza. Vamos seguir construindo um mundo justo e um planeta sustentável.
In 2025, during President Lula's third administration, we celebrated Brazil's removal from the United States hunger map from the second time. To achieve this, Brazil invested in intersectoral public policies, income transfers, productive inclusion, and guaranteed access of basic service. Tackling these challenges is possible. This is why Brazil, during the G20 presidency, launched the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. We will continue building a just world and sustainability planet.
A experiência participativa brasileira nos guiou. No Brasil, temos uma trajetória de fortalecimento de instâncias colegiadas, conselhos deliberativos e consultivos para formular e acompanhar políticas públicas e orçamentos, conferências nacionais, políticas de transparência e de acesso à informação, e inúmeras estratégias de participação presenciais e digitais. Essas instâncias se replicam nos níveis estaduais e municipais, criando uma engrenagem federativa que fortalece e sustenta políticas públicas.
Our participatory experience guides us in Brazil. We have a long trajectory of strengthening collegial bodies, deliberative and consultative councils of develop and monitor public policies and budgets, national conference transparency and access to information policies, and a countless participation of mechanisms both in person or digital. These mechanisms are replicated at the state and municipal levels, creating a federative and engine that sustains public policies.
Por isso, reconhecemos que acolher a diversidade de vozes e promover o diálogo são condições para que o G20 social se consolide como uma plataforma global de referência na integração da sociedade civil. Ouvir essas vozes e construir mecanismos de resposta ao lado delas é o único caminho para uma resiliência baseada em direitos e comprometida com o enfrentamento das desigualdades.
For this reason, we recognize that embracing diverse voices and promoting dialogue are essential for G20 social and consolidate itself as a global reference platform for the integration of civil society. Listening to these voices and building response mechanisms with them is the only path that rights-based resilience committed to addressing inequities.
Conselhos, conferências, transparência, direito à informação são instrumentos locais dessa participação. O G20 social é seu espelho global. O Brasil iniciou o processo. A África do Sul não apenas o continuou, como o ampliou. E convidamos a próxima presidência a seguir conosco, porque este deve ser um caminho sem volta. É pela participação de quem sente, no cotidiano, o impacto das decisões que tomamos aqui, que seremos capazes de liderar, superar impasses e seguir avançando.
Council's conference transparency and the right to information are local instruments and this participation. The G20 social is their global mirror. Brazil initiated the process. South Africa not only continued it, but expanded it. And we invite the next presidency to join us because this must be a path with no return. It is through the participation of those who feel in their daily lives the impact of the decision we make here that we will be able to lead, overcome gridlocks, and continue advancing.
A junção dos três pilares, político, financeiro e social, é reflexo da história das lutas de nossos povos e do papel dos nossos grandes líderes. Mandela, na década de 1990, reforçava a necessidade do povo ser consultado nas negociações políticas do país. Agora, Brasil e África do Sul, juntos, reforçam a importância de todas as pessoas participarem das decisões sobre a governança global com solidariedade, equidade e sustentabilidade. Muito obrigada.
The combination of the three pillars, political, financial, and social, reflects the history of our people, struggles, and the role of our great leaders. Mandela, in the 90s, emphasized the need for the people to be consulted in a political negotiations in the country. Now, Brazil and South Africa together reinforce the importance of all people participating in the decisions about the global governance with solidarity, equity, and sustainability. Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado. Ladies and gentlemen, the partnership with the United Nations doesn't end in Brazil. It also extends to South Africa, and it's for that reason that for the last 3 days, the United Nations resident coordinator in South Africa, our brother Innocent Mufu has been, Nelson Mufu has been in this summit participating and listening and also committing to the partnership with the UN. And in that spirit of expanding where Brazil has started, I've said earlier, Mr. President, the engagement groups presented their commitments earlier on 7 legacy projects, which are the Pan-African Sovereign Wealth Fund Initiative, the Public-Private Health Accelerator, empower youth and communities through inclusive, sustainable, and social infrastructure through the DLAB program, accelerator for digitally enabled MSME finance and trade for women and youth, the Timbuktu Creatives Hub, digitally enabled higher education system aligned with Africa's development goals, securing the next decade of impact to guarantee the future of adolescent girls and young women in Africa. I have already mentioned that these commitments include commitment to partner in the implementation, and therefore each party has committed to play their part. Mr. President, we now invite you to give us your views of the work that have been done by these many engagement groups over a number of days and months, where they have spent sleepless nights to make sure they have a declaration. And you have directed us to be inclusive. Here we are, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, let's rise to invite the President of the G20, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, His Excellency.
Water. Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Amandla. Amandla. Matla. Matimba. Manda. Mase. Program Director, Minister Kumbuzo Nchabeni, former Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka, Minister of Human Rights of the Federative Republic of Brazil, Ms. Makai Evaristo, ministers from our government here in South Africa who have come in numbers, and deputy ministers as well, members of our parliament, premiers of our provinces. I've seen the premier of Gauteng where we are and the premier of KwaZulu-Natal, councillors of our local government and mayors, and members of our provincial legislatures, delegates from the G20 member states who are here present, representatives of international organizations who are here present, co-conveners of the Social Summit and Sherpas of the G20, members of the diplomatic corps, heads of delegation, representatives of religious and Khoi and San religious leaders, delegates and guests and friends. Sanbonan, Dumelang, Abshin, Khuyemwore, Molweni, Dimacheron, Lochani, Rishile. I greet you all in the name of the people of South Africa, but also greet you in South Africa's beautiful languages. One of these greetings, Sanibonani in the Zulu language, typifies precisely what we are about. It literally means we see each other. We are acknowledging the personhood, the value, and the dignity of the one that we are meeting. We are also affirming the cherished principle of Ubuntu. I am because we are. This is the spirit in which this G20 Social Summit is being held. And it speaks very loudly to the proverb that we have on the African continent, that if you want to go fast anywhere, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. This is what we are doing. There are some who have dubbed what we are doing through the G20 summit by holding a number of other G meetings, which I'll speak about in a little while, that we are having a G100, a G1000, and that is true. We are having a G1,000,000 because we are about inclusiveness, bringing people together, and this summit is possibly the best of all the the G summits that we are going to have. So I want to applaud you. I want to thank you all for being here. And I want to thank you for your contributions, which I hear have ended up with a beautiful declaration. Beautiful things are happening in South Africa. "70 years ago, in 1955, two seminal events took place that would be pivotal in defining human relations in our own country and across the world. The first was the Asian African Conference in Indonesia, in an area called Bandung. It is now known, that meeting, as the Bandung Conference. At the time, a wave of independence was reshaping Africa and Asia. This conference has been described as the moment the Global South began to speak for itself. Like we are doing today, you, as part of the Social Summit, you are getting our people to speak for themselves, not only to be spoken about by the political leaders. It is the people who are speaking for themselves. The delegates to the Bandung Conference made a commitment to advancing peace and equality, to solidarity, to economic and political cooperation that is rooted in mutual respect and justice. The second seminal event of 1955 was the Conference of the People that was held here in Johannesburg in a place called Kliptown. It was the height of the apartheid rule. Repression and oppression was rife in our country. Only a minority of South Africans were privileged, whilst the majority were oppressed and excluded from many things. It was at the Congress of the People that South Africans of all races, all faiths, and all creeds gathered to adopt the Freedom Charter, which would be the forerunner to South Africa's democratic constitution. The Freedom Charter boldly declares that there shall be peace and friendship, and it boldly declared that the people shall govern, and that this shall be secured by upholding equal rights, opportunities, as well as status for all. History too will record this year as a milestone for global cooperation. We affirm the historic nature not only of the first summit of the G20 to take place on African soil, but also of this social summit, a gathering of the peoples from across the world. You are making history. The initial history was made in Brazil when President Lula convened a social summit of the G20. But you are making history because this is the very first time that a social summit of the G20 is being held on African soil, and you can applaud yourself. Your summit is taking place at a time of great uncertainty around the world. Political polarization, global poverty, conflict and war, and the growing impact of climate change are threatening global development. inequality in wealth distribution, imbalances in international development finance, and in disparities in access to financial resources are holding back our ability to meet the aspirations of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As a continent, we are in tandem, striving to realize the aspirations of the African Union's Agenda 2063 to develop the Africa that we want. This is the second G20 Social Summit to take place since the concept was inaugurated by President Lula of Brazil. The breadth of representation and the depth of engagement is most impressive. I am told that there have been more than 100 meetings that you have been involved in engaging together. It is here in this room where we lay the groundwork for global action on the G20 priorities. We know that global action will be credible because it is informed by the voices of the people. South Africa's G20 presidency has been premised on ensuring the interests of developing economy countries, that they must be elevated on the G20 agenda. We have sought to address poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. Having taken the leaf from the focus that Brazil put on these issues, we decided too that we want to elevate these issues to a much higher level. We have worked to strengthen and to reform the international financial architecture, to democratize the systems of global governance, and to promote the right of all nations to development, to equality and dignity, and leaving no one behind. We have used our G20 presidency to reiterate the call for the world's leading economies to invest in sustainable development and in the conservation of the planet for future generations. We wish to congratulate Brazil for having hosted COP30, which is still going on, but also congratulate President Lula for having insisted that the rainforests, the tropical forests, must be protected. But for the decisions taken at the upcoming G20 Leader Summit to stand tall, to grow, to have credibility and legitimacy, they have to be nourished by strong roots. These roots are our civil society and community organizations, women's organizations, youth formations, academia, think tanks, business, labor, and grassroots formations that focus on, yes, gender issues, like the LGBTIQ community, like the disabled communities, like the unemployed people. They must therefore be rooted amongst those communities. We are fortunate to have secured the full and meaningful participation of all the formations in this summit, including, and by no means am I going to count them all, including the Women 20, the Youth 20, the Business 20, the Civil 20, the Labor 20, the Parliament 20, the Media 20, the Disability 20. Now you will have to tell me which one is left, because there are so many. Yes, U20 as well. So there's been a broad and far-reaching consultation over the last year. Now all these 20s have come together, and this is what strengthens your summit, because we should not only focus on the Leaders Summit, which will be starting day after tomorrow. We should be focusing on the people. And let me say that, when the Leaders Summit meets, they meet like in a boardroom. Now your setting here is much more beautiful. So you are better than the Leaders Summit that I am going to be chairing. So you can congratulate yourselves. There have been dialogues on issues as diverse as digital inclusion, equitable transformation, and climate justice. There have been discussions on just and sustainable finance, on media freedom, on strengthening democracy, and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Delegates to this summit have recognized the need to build resilience and inclusive value chains to protect vulnerable countries from increased volatility, particularly in global trade. The Social Summit has reaffirmed the importance of an inclusive transition to a low-carbon, climate-resilience economy that is guided by those most affected. Delegates are calling on the G20 Leaders Summit to demonstrate leadership in scaling up global water investment for the benefit of all. The G20 Social Summit has sought to ensure that global leadership protects society's most vulnerable. Today is World Children's Day, when we commemorate the adoption of the Convention of the Rights of the Child. This was the first global UN convention ratified by the newly democratic South Africa. This social summit has called for more resources to be devoted to eliminating child poverty and hunger, and to ensure that children are protected. Our own government, having realized that in some parts of our own country there are challenges about child hunger, is going to be doing something quite significant to address the issue of hunger and poverty amongst vulnerable societies. We are going to be focusing on that. Progressive deliberations at this summit have culminated in the calls for greater political commitment to advancing young people's access to opportunities. It has called for the health and well-being of women and children to be prioritized, and for greater representation of women in all facets of society. Gone should be the days when women are relegated to the back of everything that happens in society. We should actually be saying, this is the century of women. Women must take their rightful place in playing a key role in the affairs of the world. As South Africa, we have lent our support to the Global Leaders Network for Women's, Children's, and Adolescents' Health. As the Global Leaders Network, we are deeply concerned by the effects of the withdrawal of overseas development assistance on initiatives supporting health services, delivery, and health systems in many parts of the world. We are committed to work together to mobilize global health financing so that the most vulnerable are not further deprived of their rights to care. It was the great African revolutionary Thomas Sankara who said that there is no true social revolution without the liberation of women. And he said, he continued to say, may my eyes never see and may my feet never take me to a society where half the people are held in silence. We cannot build societies rooted in equality unless those societies uphold the rights of women and girls. Sustainable societies are those that recognize, that value, and also compensate the labor and economic contribution of women. No society can thrive for as long as gender-based violence and femicide continues to be the agency of women that is denied. The violence perpetrated by men against women in many countries around the world erodes the social fabric of nations. It imposes a heavy burden that constrains development and weakens inclusive growth. Men and boys are critical partners in transforming harmful norms and advancing gender justice. They must be actively involved in challenging inherited attitudes, power imbalances, and social structures that normalize violence and silence survivors. Here in South Africa, we do have a challenge of gender-based violence, and the women of our country are crying out that they need much more focus on the issue of gender-based violence. They need protection, they need support, and they need assistance, largely from their government, as well as from the men of South Africa. And it is for this reason that we've said, we, in recognizing the plight of our women, we're now going to classify gender-based violence and femicide as a crisis that needs to be addressed. We have agreed among all social partners that we need to take extraordinary and concerted action using every means at our disposal to end this crisis. The collective perspectives that have been expressed at this summit on all the issues and more will enable governments and decision makers to better understand people's practical lived experiences. They will be able to better understand what works and what doesn't work, and to better understand what must change. Collectively, the members of the G20 represent 85% of global GDP, 75% of global trade, and 2/3 of the global population. For the G20 to fully live up to its mission of promoting international financial stability and deepening economic cooperation, there should be no unwritten rules about those who feast and those who must be settled for scraps. It cannot be that a country's geographical location or income level or army determines who has a voice and who is spoken down to. And it basically means that there should be no bullying of one nation by another nation. We are all equal. In choosing the theme, when we chose the theme that we must advance a vision of meaningful, credible global cooperation, we did not only mean a small club of leaders. We meant the people of the world must be able to be part of that vision. It is our expectation that this social summit will be remembered for being far more than a marketplace of ideas. Just as the Bandung Conference in Indonesia in 1955 elevated the voice of the Global South, and just as the Conference of the People in 1955 here in South Africa harnessed global solidarity against apartheid, one previous speaker from, was it Oxfam, said that this struggle against apartheid was the biggest struggle that he had ever seen. Now, this summit must be remembered for having given practical meaning to what global solidarity is all about. And thank you to you all who have been part of making this summit a success. We commend the delegates from various civil society organizations that are present here for the shaping of the agenda and direction of G20 Social. And in many ways, for you who are South Africans, it already gives us a very good idea of what our national dialogue will be about and what we hope that it will yield, your participation. These efforts will foster ongoing cooperation between governments and civil society in advancing sustainable global development. For millennia, our forebears were guided by the sun by the day and the stars and the moon by night. They relied on nature to show them the way as they traversed the ancient trading routes of Timbuktu, as they navigated the mighty Congo River and the mighty Nile River, as they made their ways across the vast expanses of the Kalahari and the Sahara Desert. Today, we are counting on this social summit to guide the G20. We are relying on this social summit to be the reliable, trustworthy compass that ensures the G20 agenda takes the needs and the aspirations of all the countries and all the peoples of the world into account. As you heard, we also initiated the drafting of a report on inequality. We got a Nobel laureate, Professor Joseph Stiglitz, to work with other experts to draft for the G20 and indeed for the world, for the very first time, a real composite report on inequality. And we hope that the focus on inequality will now be taken to another level. And we hope that we will be able to set up a global inequality panel that will operate at the same level as the COP 20s and the COP 30s that focus on climate change. Inequality deserves more, if not as equal as what we are treating climate change as. It is our collective wish that this G20 social will guide us along the path of solidarity, of equality and sustainability, no matter the headwinds, no matter the geopolitical shifts, no matter the challenges, we will keep our eyes fixed on the horizon of progress and shared prosperity. We will set a new course for the world, and in many ways, the declaration that you are about to present to me today is a declaration that will set a new course for the world, and we will create a new future for the people of the world as it is implemented. And with those words, I thank you, and I applaud you, and I commend you for participating in this summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, when you were asking which 20 did you forget, the engine of the economy, the Startup 20 are also here. And they are part of the G Million, Mr. President. Like all the engagement groups who submitted their resolutions and proposals to the G20 Sherpa, you may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. They have submitted their resolutions and proposals to the G20 Sherpa for inclusion in the deliberations of the G20 Leaders Summit. They will be the greatest beneficiary of the inequality panel that you propose to submit, to form, which will have the same stature as COP, because when we eradicate inequality, the engagement groups that are sitting here will be the first beneficiaries and the greatest beneficiaries. And the declaration is ready, Mr. President. And it is aligned with the theme of the G20 South Africa 2025 presidency of solidarity, equality, and sustainability, as well as dealing with the key socioeconomic challenges we face as the African continent. Like in a South African manner, and to usher the children of South Africa, who are the custodians of the future of South Africa and the continent of Africa and the world at large. We are going to have our musician, Ms. Lebu Sekhobela, to come and entertain us. And the children who will hand over the declaration will be accompanied by the leadership of the engagement groups. I will not come back to the stage. Lebu will come perform. When she's done, the children and the engagement groups will come through so that they can hand over the declaration to His Excellency the President. Over to you.
On my head,